So as a rabbi, part of my role is to connect as many Jews as I can to their Judaism and Israel in our days, especially to Israel. As a rabbi, part of my role is to deepen the bonds of those who are already committed and to create new opportunities for those who are not. Believe it or not, the festive holiday of Purim, which begins tonight, helps me with this challenge in this time and age. I know we think of Purim as a children's holiday, and therefore for many who no longer have small children, Purim is not a holiday to be celebrated. But the reality is that the story of Purim brings up many important values and ideas for teens and adults to consider. Each character in the Purim story represents a type of person that has affected our community in some way over the centuries and as we speak. First, Aman, he represents those people who have tried to destroy us for no good reason for generations. Second, Ahasuerus, who was always intrigued. I was always intrigued by him because in my opinion, he may represent something even more frightening. The authority who is unaware, insensible, naive, or even worse, does not care about strongly denouncing what's right and what's wrong, and very often don't even understand how wrong something can be. So who is the most dangerous guy, Haman or the king? Let's put it in simple terms. Is Ahasuerus, the king of Persia, an anti-Semite? No, I don't think so. He's simply a superficial paranoid without clarity. He's ready to ask his wife Vashti to come in front of a group of men and show her body. Nice to be married to such a guy. He's ready to embarrass his wife in front of everybody. That way, it's not a surprise that when Haman came to him with a great idea, and I am quoting from the book of Esther, there is a certain people dispersed among the other peoples in all the provinces, whose laws are different from those of any other people, who do not obey the king's law, and is not in your majesty's interest to tolerate them. If it please majesty, let edict be issued for the destruction, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to deposit in the royal treasury. Again, the king didn't care if the Jews ate differently, dressed and prayed differently. When he heard there is money involved, power, and Haman convinced him that's for the best interest, so I'm quoting the answer, gave in the Megillah. The king gave his ring to Haman and say, do with them what you want, as long as I get my money. What do I care if they are the bad guys if I get the money? Let me give you a couple of examples from our days on how Europe and America succumbed and is succumbing to Ahasuerus/Aman behavior, which means buying power with terrorist money. As you may know, my sport is soccer. Over the past 20 years, the Qatari regime has invested massively in international sports with the acquisition of the French football club Paris Saint-Germain as one key example, and obviously hosting of the 2022 FIFA World Cup as another. The intense interest in the sports sector is based on a clear strategy on the part of the Qatari regime to secure the autocratic state's future by diversifying the economy and developing diplomatic relations, international trade agreements, and generally strengthening the international networks. For the state of Qatar, the interest in sport is predominantly part of a political strategy. It's also a practice of image laundering to gloss over a shameful human rights record and not be associated with human rights violation, the lack of LGBT rights, and the severe abuse and exploitation of the country's large migrant workforce, and obviously sponsoring Hamas and playing the game of mediators. Soccer clubs like Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, Boca Juniors in Argentina, Barcelona, Roma, as well as the NBA team Brooklyn Nets. Emirates is now the official sponsor, look, of the NBA Referee Association. Now, I told you I love sports. Imagine the last 15 years, I was exploding with Messi enter Barcelona with Qatar Airways. And all the Jewish children use Qatar Airways. It's little by little, day by day, goal by goal, that Qatar becomes like Costa Rica. I can give you many examples of this pattern, how it repeats itself in our generation. I take you on a journey to my hometown, Buenos Aires. A sad but good example of the Haman-Ahasuerus connection in our days is the bombing of the Israeli embassy in Argentina, whose 32nd anniversary we commemorated last Sunday, and the bombing of the AMIA, the Jewish Federation. Should I believe that President Menem, the Argentinian past president when the bombing occurred, was an anti-Semite? No, I don't believe so. What I can tell is that Iran, through Hezbollah, was interested in destroying Jewish life someplace. It's to be a place with a big community, Jewish community, where corruption is impregnated deep in society. So Argentina is in heaven for corruption and has a big Jewish community. So a group from the Argentinian police behaved like Ahasuerus. How much will you pay me to exit the area of the building so you are free to bomb? Pay me, do your job, leave the country. Another example, like Haman. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propagandist, understood that if you say the lie many times, to many people, the listener will finally buy part of the lie. It wasn't too easy to convince an educated people like the Germans that the Jews are the enemy. It took a while. You know when the Germans bought into the idea that it's good to kill the Jews? When they internalized that they will benefit financially if the Jews are killed. Let me remind you part of this tragedy. The SS will go and visit a prominent German physician and try to convince him to tell them, where is the Jewish partner hidden? Usually the reaction of a kind man will be, he's a great friend, a great partner, a great doctor. It's unfair what you're asking me. Once they explained to him that if the Jewish partner died, he will become the doctor of all the patients of his, in many cases, the position changed. It's a different guy. It wasn't easy to convince every Christian neighbor of Jewish families who share decades of each other's side that those children that they play together daily for years deserve death. But when they explained to him that he will receive the house near him and enlarge his, bueno, that's a different story. With the Polish, was different. They agree immediately because they were Jewish haters for centuries. That's why the Germans supervised the dirty work, but the Poles and the Ukrainian executed it. Let's continue with the Jewish characters in the story. Mordechai, the one who will not bow down nor kneel before Haman. He was a man, the prime minister next to the king, the most powerful representative of a most powerful empire, and only one person denies him adoration, Mordechai. He risked his life, but he wasn't ready to compromise his most cherished belief. Has this not been the role of the Jew to the centuries? The perpetual dissenter against every political and religious totalitarianism. Passover, the main Jewish festival, is about opposing slavery. Hanukkah is the fight for freedom of religion. Queen Esther, a Jewish orphan by the name of Hadassah, lived with her cousin Mordechai. According to the description in the text, Esther was beautiful. As soon as the king saw her, he chose her as his new queen. When Mordechai heard that a man is ready to lead a genocide toward the Jewish people, he approached Esther and said to her, intercede with the king on behalf of our people. And she hesitated because she said that she risked losing her life by coming to the king uninvited. And Mordecai's reaction was very clear. He warns her, don't even think to yourself that because you live in the king's palace, your fate will be different from the fate of the rest of the Jews. Tyranny draws no distinction between Jews. Even when we don't share the same faith, the same way of worshiping God, we share the same fate. Mordecai and Queen Esther represent us. They symbolize the two basic types of Jews we find in our world today. Those who are connected and those who are not connected. Mordecai symbolizes the proud Jew who lives out his Judaism in both his private and public life. In the Megillah, he is known as Mordechai HaYehudi, Mordechai the Jew. He's connected to everything that is Jewish. He's even willing to risk his life to live by his religious teaching by refusing to bow down to a man. Queen Esther? Esther lives in the palace and has a wonderful life. She has become very comfortable. So comfortable that she is forgetting that she is Hadassah. That's her other name. She has lost her connection to her people. Yes, in our country today, we can easily become Esther Jews. We live comfortable lives. We are free to work and live and travel where we want. It takes work, commitment, money, time, and effort to behave as a Jew. Yes, there are too many Jews all over the world who no longer feel bonded with us. It would be easy to write them off to assimilation and intermarriage. We may feel tempted to dismiss them. But the Purim story will not let us. The Purim story reminds us that we are all in this together. All of us play a part in the future of our people, no matter how connected we may be right now. As a man develops his plot to kill all of the Jews, it is Mordechai who reminds his niece or cousin, Queen Esther, that she too will be killed by Haman unless she uses her access to power to stop him. Yes, she is the queen. Yes, she is a Jew that is not so involved in a Judaism anymore. But it does not matter. She's still a Jew. And if she does not do anything to stop Haman, she too will become a victim. So in the end, Esther becomes a heroine because she takes brave and courageous steps to save her people. At the end, she stands up for her people and becomes a Mordechai Jew by risking her life to identify as a Jew. I have family members who have forgotten their Jewish roots. Perhaps you do too. Perhaps you do too. Today I want to remind us all that they are still Jews. Purim is a reminder to us that we need to leave the door open for those who have left to return, because we never know when we may need them and they may need us. Tonight, we will read from the scroll. Listen to the name. It's not Megillat Mordechai, the scroll of Mordechai. It's not Megillat Purim. It's not Megillat Esther or Mordechai. It's Megillat Esther. Esther scrolls. After Mordechai pleaded in front of her, this was a reaction. I'm quoting. Go, assemble all the Jews who are present in Shushan. Esther didn't say to Mordechai, go and assemble only these types of Jews. Rather, she clearly instructed that all Jews, no matter their age, background, or what their observance level might be. If we wish to survive, Esther knew we must be united. I believe that is the reason that the rabbis predicted that Purim will be observed even in the Messianic days, when almost all other Jewish holidays will be abolished. By continuing to observe Purim in the Messianic age, as we do now, Jews will have a constant reminder of the threat of anti-Semitism, of the Hamans and Ahasuerus, but especially the importance of Jewish unity that this holiday represents. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.